888-888-8787. South Pacific Sleep Lab. Start resting easy and sleeping sound today.
Miss your favorite show? Download the podcast at kcaaradio.com.
Welcome to Smart Health Talk with your host, Elaine McFadden.
Take a walk on the wild side. Will the birds and the bees survive? Right before me, my newfound hippie side. Once ignored these conspiracies online. Out the window, visions of the earth. Sign me up now, make sure you use your smart. Take a walk on the wild side. Will the birds and the bees survive? Would your children ride to see Mother Nature's side?
Welcome to Smart Health Talk with your host, Elaine McFadden.
Welcome, everyone. It's Smart Health Talk time, and I'm your host, Elaine McFadden. I'm a registered dietitian with a master's in public health, and we are here for you. That's right. That's who we care about. We care about you, your health, your family, your mind, your body, how you're feeling. Do you have a disease or not have a disease? What are you eating? Are you exercising? What's your lifestyle like? I mean, all of those things. How's your air? How's the air you're breathing? How's the water you're drinking? I mean, all of these things play a role in your health and the quality of your life. And also they play a role in our country and where our country is going, because the decisions that are affecting our health are also policy decisions that are being made right now at the federal level, especially. But apparently, there's about like 230 mayors around the country that are saying we want to leave all of these regulations that are keeping our air and water clean. We want to leave those in place. Now, that was from something like 45 different states that these mayors came from, and they sent that message to Washington, D.C. So there are a lot of states coming back, like California, and saying, you know what, if you guys aren't going to implement regulations, we're going to. Now, again, we start trickling down. This is all like corporate action. And we're going to be going over several different things today, because I would like to make the argument that our agricultural system that used to have a Midwest that was producing hundreds of different kinds of crops down to 5 different kinds of crops. Not just that, but it's what are these crops being used for? Because when it comes to soybeans, for one thing, most of those are used in animal feed. And the GMO corn that we love to grow and is actually pretty much like the biggest crop that we grow, that's fed to animals. What about us? What are we getting? We're getting the cheapest, most processed food, full of pesticides. That's what we're getting. We're getting stuff that's not even really food anymore. That's the problem. That's why we're at 36% obesity in this country. The food is not even real food anymore. You have been tricked. You have been conned. You have been hornswoggled, or whatever that name is. But you have been duped big time. They have been lying to you. These people have been lying to you. And it's the food industry. Who do you think told you that egg yolks were bad? Who do you think told you that low-fat and non-fat milk were better? All of these things were lies. They have now come back and had to say, oh, that's not true. The egg yolk really isn't causing high cholesterol. What is causing high cholesterol? I have the answer to that. Actually, one of our guests, our distinguished guests, which if you go and find our podcasts on KCAA, iHeartRadio, YouTube, please subscribe to our Smart Health Talk channel. Our goal is 1,000 subscribers, because that's what we got to do to even make any little bit of kind of money to help pay for the show. So your subscription is greatly appreciated, because we're trying to get to our 1,000 mark, and we only got about 650 more people to go. So, we just started, we didn't really start pushing our YouTube until about a year and a half ago. So we need subscribers, and we got all kinds of videos. We have something like 165 videos on there, but way more to come. Working on one right now about Maggie's Organics. And that's because there's a big show coming up that I love to go meet all these people, because we promote organic companies on this show. And not just any organic companies. No, we want the true blue organic companies. Because unfortunately, the ones that are owned by big corporate were not started by them. They have never successfully started an organic company. Because first of all, they don't want organic to win. Why do you think these companies spent millions of dollars to defeat GMO labeling? Because there are no GMOs in organic. So if they were fine with no GMOs, then why were they spending money to defeat GMO labeling? Because they don't want people to know there are GMOs in their food. I spent time reading one research article today. It was something where they were looking for genetic material from GMOs in dairy, milk, and cheese. And, this is something that we are finding. We are finding the genetic material of these GMOs in our food. It's there, unless there was no GMOs used in the production. Like organic. Organic is never GMO. Never, 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 never. Okay? And if that happens, I tell you, that's the day I'm not even going to buy USDA organic anymore. Rodale Institute has started a regenerative organic agriculture certification, and that is the certification that actually we support wholeheartedly. Unfortunately, our Department of Agriculture has, I don't know what you want to call it, but they definitely were willing to bow down to big food. Again, big food has diluted our entire organic system, because now they're allowing hydroponic products to be considered organic. And this is berries, this is peppers, cucumbers. I think they use squash even, tomatoes. All of these things you get when you get your package from Trader Joe's and it says organic cherry tomatoes on it. Look where it's from. Okay, it's from Mexico. And it's not just from Mexico, but it's from a Mexican hydroponic operation, indoor growing. Okay, that's what it's from. Personally, I don't need tomatoes when tomatoes are not in season. And if you go to our smarthealthtalk.com website, under gardening, we have several different pages that help you know, first of all, what foods are in season. Because there's actually, I think, a rhythm that goes with all that, and our need for different foods depending on the time of the year it is, where the sun is, these different things, the weather. If you think about it, we're really getting a lot of vitamin A in the wintertime from things like our butternut squash, our pumpkin, all of these things. We're getting lots of vitamin A, which is really great for our immune system and also our skin, and then our lungs. And, if you're getting pneumonia or the flu, all of these foods play a key role in keeping you healthy or help you to get well. And if I want someone to not get chronic disease and die, or be able to recover from an illness, or not even get sick to begin with and stay healthy and keep a sharp mind and a strong body, am I going to tell them to eat this poisoned food full of multiple pesticides that we know? Do not even believe these things when they try to tell you it's a myth. Oh, it's a myth. No, it is not a myth. This stuff causes cancer, birth defects, destroys our kids' brains, which is chlorpyrifos pesticide, which Trump is still allowing. We had done years of research to get to the point where we said we're getting rid of this stuff. There is no doubt whatsoever. It is lowering the IQ of our children. It is causing autism. It is causing them to be detached, unemotionally, unable to connect with other people, unable to be able to anticipate needs of others. Many, many different things is what these pesticides, they cause dents in the brain. We know this. When you hear the propaganda that is being put out there, just in Newsweek, some piece, it has Monsanto written all over it. And when this piece that came out and it was like saying, oh, organic, rip off, lie, they're feeling threatened big time. And that's because organic is growing by 10% per year. Okay? Regular retail conventional products, flatline. Not growing, not going anywhere. If it's like the sales of diet soda, it's probably going down. Because people are actually saying, this is not what we want. Actually, there was a survey. Consumers want their food as pure as possible. And Fortune magazine did this, and they did a poll to gauge the changing tastes of American public's palate. And the message is consumers are seeking whole and unadulterated foods. And what was I talking about? Processed food, poison food. That's adulterated, okay? It's not as it is like when you just grow it with a regular organic seed in organic soil, and you're not poisoning it with all these different pesticides. And trust me, these organic pesticides organic uses pesticides too. Compared to their stuff, oh my God, it is a friggin' joke. I mean, Roundup, you can buy it in 2% to 50% concentration. Nothing will grow for an entire year when you spray the 365. That's some heavy duty stuff, I'm telling you. So, if they try to soften this stuff up and throw all this stuff, and I have a paper here that I have been reading through, and it is, they go through what Monsanto has been willing to do to discredit any reputable research that comes out against Roundup. Like Seralini, Dr. Seralini, who I met in person and interviewed them on our YouTube channel. Dr. Seralini, you may have saw the rats with the giant tumors all over their body. That's because he did a 2-year study, okay? Monsanto, I go on their site and see all the lies that they're telling everybody. And it's just it is just so funny. But it's not really funny because the lies are destructive and making people think in a way that is not helping them. It is hurting them because they are being blind to the truth about the foods that they're eating. And meanwhile, their body is getting bigger and bigger, and the fat ratio to muscle ratio is going high on the fat, hardly any on the muscle. But that's just almost like superficial stuff, even though, yeah, the muscles are all down in there. When we get down to what's going on in your gut, in your brain, in your kidneys, in your liver, in your pancreas, I mean, it's just one disaster after another, because these are sensitive organs. Just think, if you just barely touch your skin on something hot, you're burned. We're fragile. We cut easy. You think the inside of our body is tough as nails? No, these are very sensitive organs, and we're killing cells. Dr. Lundgren found that these neonicotinoid pesticides that we are just spraying massive amounts, that even at half of 1 part per billion, we are talking about 100% bee and butterfly death. We don't even know if one tiny, tiny bit is all that it takes at like 1 part per billion. No, excuse me, 1/10 of a part per billion, or 1/100th, or 1/1,000,000th part of a billion. How about that? We don't even know. It could be just the tiniest little bit. And yet we're spraying this stuff like it's no tomorrow, like it's nothing. If the bee and the butterfly are a litmus test, what is happening to us? I read another study where they're trying to figure out, okay, well, what about wine? Can you taste pesticides in wine? Because we have people that are connoisseurs out there, man, their palate is so friggin' refined and sensitive. They can just detect all these different things. Where do you think they come with all this? Oh, this wine is like woody and it's got cherry. And I'm just like, where the heck did they come up with this stuff? Well, there are people that know it, okay? And they are refining their palate to be able to taste pesticides. And they've actually given names, descriptions to the different pesticides in what they tasted. Some of them were like moldy, just like something moldy, and just like, some like nasty, nasty kind of taste to it. But when they actually tested the wines, they had wines that were in supposed to be no more than 10 parts per billion, but were in the hundreds, and they even had a bottle that had like 4,000 parts per billion. 4,000 when it's supposed to be 10 in your wine. And yeah, we got atrazine in there that chemically castrates males. I'm working on a video with Dr. Hayes. He did this one talk, and it was just like so good about his research and what is happening with atrazine and men. And you guys, if you knew what I knew, you would not want this stuff ever in your body if you like being a man, okay? Because it is feminizing our women. It is changing sexual orientation of our boy babies because they're being exposed to huge amounts of estrogen in the womb. It is actually changing their genital organs. They're born with malformations. Changes their voice. And we just don't even understand, because they're looking at these pesticides and they're looking at every single chemical when there's 100 in there individually and not together. And this is the scary part. We need to be testing this thing together, but they're not doing it because they know it's bad. And this is like, why are we using these pesticides? We had Frank Ackerman on our show that said even at 4% increase in yield with atrazine, which I just said causes birth defects, chemically castration of our males, we increase our yields by 4%. This is nothing, absolutely nothing, compared to the cost to our environment, healthcare. What cost can you put on chemically castrating our babies, our baby boys? Oh, the girls get breast cancer. And I just can't believe some of these people in the comments they leave. Oh, we're growing GMOs that have breast cancer drugs in them. Wow, thanks. But it's that GMO plant you're growing that's causing the cancer? What about that? And the fact that you're spraying pesticides and you're polluting, and then we have BT in there, which is an organic pesticide. Yeah, they hijacked the organic, natural, just with the bacteria that just it helps get rid of pests and different things in the garden. They hijacked it for their GMO, so they inject that in the GMO. So now what's happening is the insects are getting resistant to the BT, the very thing that the organic farmers need. So they screwed us. They screwed the organic farmers is what they've done. You know, I can't believe these comments. And these people think that they must think I'm stupid or something, but some of the comments that they leave are pretty upsetting. Okay, and what's most upsetting is what is happening to the health of Americans. And we really want to know why this is happening. Okay, now I said in the very beginning that we're talking about the corporate takeover of our croplands. You know, this is America. We have millions of acres. We have a farm bill that's being worked on right now, and that is why we're having this discussion. There is a farm bill that is going to decide for the next 5 years how our agriculture system is going to be funded. Now, in the past, we've been throwing millions and billions of dollars worth of subsidies at those people that are growing the GMO corn, the GMO soybeans, and what are they making out of these different products. Okay, I want to get to that part here. And okay, yeah, oh yeah, I never really finished the Newsweek story. Yeah, the person that actually wrote that article, he was, he has a PR firm for Monsanto and those companies. And so he writes an article against organic. Well, yeah, because those people are paying him. You know, that's why. And so Forbes actually took another article he had done for them. They took it down completely. So thank you, Forbes. You actually did something good there. I really appreciate that. Now, as we get into these soybeans, in case you have not heard, there is a big controversy. There was actually a murder over this dicamba pesticide. And what's happened is the Roundup isn't working anymore. The weeds don't die. We have super weeds. They grow huge. And no matter what they spray, it wasn't working. So then they started pulling out these old pesticides. 2,4-D, which Vietnam, that's what we used to defoliate Vietnam, to kill the vegetation. Okay, we're making new pesticides with that. We're combining them. So we have this Enlist duo it's got glyphosate and dicamba. And this dicamba is notorious. It drifts. It gets in the air and it spreads. And it's been spreading and actually killed crops on millions of acres. We need to sit down and do the friggin' math, okay? We are using these GMOs with these pesticides that are so bad they killed a farmer's entire orchard of peaches. That's why he was mad, and that's what got him killed. It's not just killing that guy's orchard. It is killing millions of other crops, millions of acres of it. Not just that, but it's compromising our health in ways because this stuff is just so bad. Since the Roundup wouldn't work, they started using this. So what do you think? You know, it's bad. And I mean, they planted the amount of acres that were planted last year is just, it's unbelievable. Monsanto, let's see. Okay, the Extend soybeans spanning 20 million U.S. acres in 2017, but killed 3.6 million acres. So, you know, what percentage is that? That is what, like 15% or something of the crops that were planted were killed by the pesticide. Okay, we gotta add that to our math right there. Like, how much was that worth? All right, and that's not even, you know, mentioning like the light killing that they did. They like totally annihilated those crops, but others, I'm sure that they had some sort of effect on weakening them. But get this, Monsanto projects that acreage will double this year, 2018, accounting for about 44% of all planted acres. Okay, now this is where it really gets political. And this is why I wanted to have this discussion today. Because there's a reason the Midwest isn't growing hundreds of crops for us to eat anymore. Because they're growing them for big corporate. And not just big corporate food. No, big corporate chemical, big corporate pharma, big corporate plastics, big corporate energy. All of these things are being grown from the soybeans and the corn and the cotton that we are subsidizing. And just one, I'd like to just touch on one thing here with cotton because I want to get this in. I spent hours reading about cotton this week. And because I told you I was doing that video for Maggie's Organics, which she makes incredible organic cotton socks, but not just that. They have wool socks that are, it's called like Merino wool or something like that. And their socks, their clothing, all organic cotton or this wool. And the way that they work with the farmers and all that, it's really incredible. But that's what kind of got me on the path. And when you look at cotton, it just amazes me. Amazes me. Cotton, which the government has decided is a non-food item, they allow them to use the worst pesticides of all because it's a non-food item. So they go, okay, you can use that heavy-duty pesticide. But then they take the seeds and they feed that to cows and dairy cows and cattle. So it's in our meat, it's in our dairy. Then, so all the pesticides, those things don't disappear. They're carried with it. So now the pesticides from the cottonseed are in our meat and our dairy. But not just that. They make cottonseed oil. That goes in crackers and bread and all different kinds of products. So they're feeding it to us. And soybeans, the reason I know soybeans aren't even really meant for the food, the way that we're using them. I mean, the Asian, they know to ferment soy. They know in its like regular form, it's really not a good thing to be eaten a lot of because it has a lot of estrogen in it. So people that are susceptible to estrogen type of tumors, breast tumors, when they eat foods that have a lot of estrogen in them, like soy, it's a problem for them. And add to that all the pesticides that are in there. Oh yeah, let's just speed along. Let's just like trigger it, you know, with the pesticide too. And then you got like the estrogen right there to help. You know, it's just not a good situation. So the thing is, these soybeans, I found a comment where they actually said they're starting to use, this is the soybean industry page, by the way. They're starting to use soybeans in more food. So this was their plan, was to get us to accept soybeans in our food, but we're not supposed to be eating this stuff. It's really not a good diet. And the fact that they're GMO and sprayed with pesticides, well, okay. You got double, triple, quadruple whammy on your body right there. And trust me, if you go to our website, smarthealthdoc.com, click on Dr. Senna, she's right there on the homepage. Listen to our interviews with her. If you like science, if you like getting into how your body really works and understanding that, you will want to listen to this MIT senior scientist. And it to me, it's fascinating. I hang on every word because I want to understand how our body works, and I want to understand how these pesticides are interacting with our vital organs and our brain and causing disease. Because remember, I told you we're here for you. That's right. I didn't go to school for 8.5 years, actually 10, to not be giving back. And that's what it's all about. I was supported with my education, and I'm here giving back, taking that education to hopefully save lives. And those of you trying to lose weight, none of this stuff, these pesticides, hormone disruptors, in so many different things within the pesticides, within plastics and things that you're exposed to during the day. These are just adding to that risk to an already susceptible person. And then when I start learning about this GMO corn and the cotton, this is what really gets me. This is what I learned about cotton that just got me fired up. Because apparently there is this, it's like a gin, the cotton gin. They have this leftover trash kind of stuff. It's a gin waste, and it can have all different kinds of things in there. I mean, it could have the leftover pieces from the car. It's all the junk that's left over from the plant. There could be weeds in there and dirt in there and who knows what. Anyway, they actually sell that. Again, here we go. This is cotton that has had the worst pesticides on it. They sell that to the food industry. Yeah, you know what they make with it? Cellulose. Now, if you're on that Slim Fast or something like that, go look at the container at the ingredients. Okay, you will see, because cellulose is a non-calorie filler. So they put it in there. They claim it's fiber. They claim, this is low calorie because they put the cellulose that they made from all the crap left from the cotton gin. That's what they put for thickeners, fillers in all different kinds of foods. And those pesticides are still there. They stay there. And this is 97% of the cotton grown in the United States is GMO. The average is 75% for the globally. But us in the United States, boy, we're GMO all the way. Yeah, we want every single acre of cropland covered in a GMO crop. Yeah, well, we're selling, these different things, these soybeans, and, this is scary. Oh, but I wanted to get to the part where the politics get really heavy duty. Now, if the State Department doesn't even hardly have any people, unfortunately, the State Department would be doing something to protect us, but I learned a lot from watching Madam Secretary, because it really opened my eyes to what our State Department does and how we help corporations. We have to help protect America's interests. And this is big corporate. They're not protecting Joe Blow over there in Mobile, Alabama. No, they are protecting some big corporation. And right now, we have a war going on in the GMO soybean world. And we got, everyone wants China to be their customer. But China has been saying no to GMOs except to make them. And they created a GMO rice that they won't allow to be grown in their country, but Pruitt has approved it to be sold to us. So we are the research experiment for Chinese GMO rice, their first attempt. Okay? And it won't be marked because, remember, all those companies paid all that money to defeat GMO labeling? And all that's on our website. If you search through our drop-down menus, you'll find Prop 37, the companies that paid, all that. And then even recently, they tried to go to Trump and say, oh, boo-hoo, people are saying bad things about GMOs. We want $3 million for an advertising campaign to tell people that GMOs are safe. So they wanted the taxpayers. This is how arrogant these people are. And it's just amazing to me, you know, that artificial sweeteners, they have GMO corn in them. And you know the new Pepsi, they finally went back. They tried stevia. And oh, by the way, just a little bit about stevia. You know, they put on there for like Truvia and these other stevia-based plant sweeteners, they put, oh, we soak the stevia and then we process it. And you may think, oh, stevia is approved as a sweetener. Guess what? It's not. Stevia, the plant, is not approved as a sweetener. The chemical that is sweet within the plant is approved. So every bit of stevia that you get is so highly processed that it's nothing but a white powder of this one single chemical that they isolated within the plant. That is the only thing legal in this country. They will not approve the whole stevia plant. Now, Sunrider, which I use their products for years, I love them. If I have more money, I would buy them. But they had a product, they couldn't sell it as a sweetener. They had to sell it as a nutritional supplement. And it was made from the whole stevia plant. It was cold pressed, no heat used. And it was a whole different kind of product, sweetener, than this white powder chemical that is the only thing that's allowed. And that's why everything that you're getting is nothing like the Sunrider product that I used for 30 years before they ever came out with any stevia here. And it was approved in Japan. Stevia has been approved in other countries. It comes from Paraguay. But no, they just, and why do you think that is? Why do you think when Japan had approved it like 30 years ago as a sweetener, the United States didn't? Oh, well, maybe that's because big corporate got in our policy again. And they said, we don't want ever approved because that's going to compete with this chemical NutraSweet and Splenda and all this other aspartame that we have. And we don't want that competition. So don't ever approve that. So they pretty much run our government and tell them what they can approve and what they can't approve. Now, this whole taking over of, oh, and I wanted to also say that Pepsi just came out and they're, oh, we've got the Pepsi One. It's new and improved. You know, it's right back to aspartame again, everybody. And we have Robert Kennedy Jr. on our YouTube doing a talk before the Monsanto decision, court decision, going into the Monsanto court decision where they decided that it was cancer-causing. That's Roundup, glyphosate, cancer-causing on the Prop 65 list. And there were people out there testifying about how either they lost a loved one to cancer after being exposed to Roundup, or they had cancer because of Roundup. And very, very sad. And the fact that when I go on the industry sites and they put things on there like, oh, this does not cause cancer or any other disease. You know, really, when you hear people talking in absolutes, that's a red flag right there, everyone. You know that there's probably something coming after it that you can't trust. And so when you see that, don't trust it. Okay, so we're only growing 5 crops over in the Midwest instead of the hundreds. You know, this farm bill, we need to start saying we want, just like this survey where we had like 64% of the people said they are very or extremely concerned about GMO labeling. They're 64% are very concerned about GMO labeling, hormones, and pesticides, number one. 64% were concerned about pesticides. They were 56% concerned about hormones, 52% concerned about antibiotics, and 45% about GMOs. That's pretty much over half the population concerned, almost at like 50% or more, about every one of these things. They are concerned. They know organic is better. People know that, but they think they can't afford it. Why can't they afford it? Because we're growing all this GMO corn, soy, and cotton, and peanuts that use like lots of pesticides. You definitely want those organic. But I mean, you know, we're growing this because they're making way more other things out of it, like drugs. They are actually trying to create drugs in the plant. But right now they have GMO bacteria that are making drugs. And not just that, but, you know, these opioids and all that. And, you know, I really started thinking about it and the whole competition, because they knew marijuana was going to be, you know, becoming legal. And I'm going to be putting a version of, you can look for it yourself. There's Adam Ruins Everything about about marijuana, and the whole reason that it was made illegal. No one cared about it until this one guy was about ready to lose his job because, you know, prohibition was over and alcohol wasn't illegal, so he had to vilify something else. So he went after marijuana. It was actually a very racist reason. He wanted people to hate Mexicans and blacks as well. And the whole propaganda that came out, the lies about it, people were killing people on marijuana. And when you look at how many people die from alcohol, which is about 88,000 per year, how many people are dying from like overdoses on prescription drugs, you know, these kind of things, you know, like 400,000. And the amount of people that died from marijuana, how much do you think that is? 0. No one has died from marijuana ever, but we have thousands and thousands of people dying from prescription drugs. Now, they knew that marijuana is going to be legal, and they're, you know, things are starting to change a little bit. So if you're if you're the opioid prescription people, what are you going to do? Well, they came out with another drug. They got it approved. Everyone, all the doctors, all these people saying, no, do not approve this drug because it's really easy to make it into a powder. And I'm trying to remember the name of it. I have that here. The name of this opioid drug that they approved. I want to leave that out because I want to talk about that. And I want to talk about that. So this opioid drug, which is like 10 times stronger. Then they have other ones that are supposed to be like 100 times stronger. You know, they got that approved back in like 2014. So they're already thinking ahead, and they're going to get this drug out there as much as they can and get doctors to prescribe it. Because, you know, there is a such thing as an addictive personality. Some people are more susceptible. And you know what? That's a potential marijuana customer, but guess what? That's also a potential opioid customer. And so when they put their little plan together, they got this drug approved, and then they started getting it out there, because when you're hooked on opioids, do you think you care about smoking a joint? Heck no. All you're thinking about is, how am I going to get my next pill? And it's interesting that the opioid deaths shot up about the very same time that the cocaine deaths went down, like a sharp, in 1 year, just boom. But the opioid deaths in the same year shot way up. And I'm thinking, why is that? Again, it is supporting my theory that people that are hooked on opioids don't care about the other drugs. They don't care about marijuana. They don't even care about cocaine. People stop dying from cocaine, a huge drop. But the opioids go up, so they switched. They switched to the opioid, the people that were on the cocaine. They probably took it to try and go to sleep and that, and then they got so hooked on it. And they didn't have enough money to pay for everything. So they chose the opioid, because that's the most addictive. And these opioids are not even made from real poppies or anything. This is all synthetic GMO stuff. Not just that, but I was reading about vaccines. And a lot of these vaccines today, all GMO. There was a time when there was a change. And this is something that I've suspected might be part of the problem that we're seeing now with vaccines, is these vaccines are actually GMO vaccines. They're not made from the same thing the original vaccines are. And maybe some people would say, oh, that's better. Well, is it? Is it really? And they try to say, oh, these GMOs are equivalent. They're equivalent to the real thing. When I just said earlier in this show that we were able to detect GMO material in the dairy products and other foods. So if we can find the GMO material in there, and they are putting viruses, a mosaic virus, and they put other things in the DNA strand when they mess with this. And so, we've got this change that is happening, and we've had other research that's showing a high formaldehyde and low glutathione levels in the GMO seed, when actually that never happens in a real seed. And formaldehyde is a poison. And, that's just the beginning. But anyway, they say that's equivalent, but it's not. And I had Dr. Sunup on the show, and I read to her something that I found in a scientific journal. I know it was a scientific textbook kind of a thing about proteins. And it said, and she verified, it said that if you change a protein in any way, it is now something that will trigger an allergic reaction in your body. And another study that came out showed, this is a breakthrough study, they showed that it's hard to find unvaccinated kids and vaccinated kids to compare. But they found a group, the homeschooled group, and they were actually able to get, it was something like 666 students in that study. They had 200 that were unvaccinated, and then the rest vaccinated. And they found huge disparities in the sickness in the vaccinated kids versus the unvaccinated kids. The unvaccinated kids, yes, they got more chickenpox because they weren't vaccinated against it. But the other kids were getting way more of all these other things. They even found some weird bacteria in their nose because they're getting this allergic rhinitis, allergies, hay fever, all of these different things. It was something like 8 times higher in the vaccinated children versus the unvaccinated children. Many different, I'm pretty sure I put that up on my Facebook. You can find me on Facebook too, and I try to put that on Twitter and Pinterest. I got 50,000 pins on Pinterest, so if you can find me and join me on that, that would be great. But these are the kind of things that I post. I'm always looking for this kind of stuff. But I thought that was really fascinating, because we really don't even know. Are we doing a good thing? We give more vaccinations than any other country in the world. We have it's 69 vaccinations by the time the kids are 18. 69. I mean, Japan has something they do 6 or something like that, and they're pretty healthy over there. Okay, they're healthier than us. They have better mortality, better infant mortality, better longevity. all those things in Japan. And so we really have to question what we're doing here. But I thought that was a good study, and I'm really fascinated with this information as a dietitian. Okay, we had, climate change and all these different things. All this is tied to our agriculture, and that is why the hijacking of our agriculture by these corporations to make all these other products that they're making with crops that we are subsidizing. Taxpayers are subsidizing to the tune of billions of dollars. Why can we not dedicate, fields, agricultural land to exclusive organic? People want organic in this country. We are importing. We cannot even fill the demand for organic right now. So we're having to import from other countries like Turkey. Really? Why do we want to give them money? So we could be growing food for our citizens here. This reminds me of Hawaii, because in Hawaii, they have 365-day growing season. Every single day is a good day for growing in Hawaii. And it's like 80 degrees there all the time. And they are importing 75 to 80% of their food from the mainland. Why is that? Well, all those millions and millions of organic, not organic, far from it, the GMO seeds that are being planted, those are grown in Hawaii. All that land has been hijacked in Hawaii. The people can't even grow their own food there. Guess what? They have now replicated that on our mainland. And we are growing for these corporations, for products, plastics, things in cars. On and on and on. And that cellulose that I was talking about earlier, that's in tampons. Women are putting this inside of them up against tissues that can absorb those pesticides. Gosh, there's so much more I wanted to tell you today, and we're running out of time. Darn it. God, so much more. Okay, well, I'm going to try to be doing other videos as well, little topics, putting those up on YouTube, trying to get you guys educated on all this stuff. I spent hours and hours looking for this information and getting it all in my head to be able to talk to you about it. I hope that this was beneficial for you today. I hope you learned something. We have our Smart Health Talk resolutions to help you lose weight. Oh, and if you want to lose weight, you may want to check your pans, because if you have Teflon, a new study came out that's showing those that lost weight and they were using Teflon and all of the chemicals that are in there actually gained weight back faster and more weight when you are exposed to those chemicals in the Teflon, which is made by DuPont. And oh, by the way, they want to get into the soybean business, and that's an American company, and they want to do business with China. So what is that going to put us in a position where DuPont wants our government to go push China and these other countries to buy their GMO seeds? So our government becomes their salesperson. And is that what we want to do as a country? Do we want to go push GMOs and pesticides on other countries so DuPont can make a profit? I don't. And I hope you don't either. And please go check out our Blue Monarch project. We have about 35 caterpillars at home that are going to turn into monarch butterflies. We released and raised 600 last year. We're trying to get 20,000 milkweed plants in the ground. We're going to have a plant sale on March 24th of organic plants with none of these pesticides in it right here at KCAA. We'll be announcing other plant sales around the Inland Empire. And go check out our Blue Monarch Project website, and we're getting our store going up there. We have a little things we got to work out, but you'll kind of get an idea of what kind of plants we're going to be offering you. So feel free to contact us. Thanks for listening. I'm Elaine McFadden. Bye.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
So, you want to be in show business,